Thanks, Joanna. First of all, thank you very much to Evidence Synthesis Ireland, Joanna, and Tom Conway, who first got in touch with me a few months ago to ask if I would do this talk. So I have come to this, as a participant before, so I do feel a little nervous. I hope you're all going to be kind to me. So first of all, my name is Alison Bethel. I work for the University of Exeter Medical School, and I'm an information specialist, or a librarian, perhaps you might think of it as well, because my history, my background before coming here, I've been here for 14 years. Prior to that, I worked for the Environment Agency, and prior to that, I worked at a government research lab. So I slightly changed my title because as I was going through my slides, I thought actually I what I want to share with you is about how we can use evidence from the way we currently search to help improve how we search in the future. So I slightly changed the title of it. I'm funded by the NIHR, which is the National Institute for Health and Care Research. I always have to write that down because I can never remember it. And we're funded by the ARC, the Applied Research Collaboration in the Southwest Peninsula here in Devon. So I work for or with this lovely team. They're called the Evidence Synthesis Team. And I've been working with them for 14 years. So we do lots of evidence synthesis. And my job, this is myself and my colleague Morwenna, we are the information specialists in the team. But I also do some work with this team here, which is Health and Social Care Delivery Research Team. And quite a lot of the examples I'm going to give today are from projects that I've done with this team. And I also do another small amount of work for another evidence synthesis group, again funded by the NIHR, and that's called ISCA Evidence. So I do a little bit of work for them as well. So as you can see, most of what I do is doing quite a lot of searching for evidence synthesis projects. So I'm just going to give you a brief kind of overview of some of the projects I've been involved in, just to give you a bit of a flavour of some of the topics and areas. So the first one, very standard, systematic review, meta-analysis in mealtime interventions in care homes. And then the next one is I do sort of information retrieval research, mostly with my lovely colleague, Morwenna Rogers. And this one was about platforms for doing systematic searching. And this was published over 10 years ago. And I'm really sad to say that things have not improved a great deal in those 10 years in terms of the platforms that we have to use to do our searching for systematic reviews. Other things have changed, but not so much this. This is a qual and quant review, again from 2014. Cochrane review, I've done maybe 3 Cochrane reviews. This was back in like 2017. So that was a baptism of fire, the Cochrane reviews. This is another methods paper, a research which I did again with my colleague Morwenna, and that was developing a search filter. This was my first systematic map, and this was in the environmental field, so antibiotic resistance and transmission from humans to the environment. So that was with some lovely colleagues down in Cornwall. I just put this one in because it's such a lovely paper about the effects of animals on the health and well-being of residents in care homes, and that's a qual and quant evidence synthesis. And this one is the most recent one, which I was the information specialist on, and this is with colleagues in Plymouth University. And that was a rapid realist review. So hopefully it gives you a flavour of the different types of reviews that I've been involved in. So it's evidence and gap map systematic reviews with qual and quant. This is a rapid realist review. Rapid reviews, also done policy reviews. So yeah, been involved in lots of different kind of subject areas and sort of methods areas as well. So I'm sure I don't have to say this to any of you. So in systematic searching, we try and be comprehensive. And that is really difficult when you're trying to balance sensitivity and precision. You're trying to not retrieve too much irrelevant information, but still find all of the relevant information. And it's an artful task to have to do. We record everything that we do so that we can be transparent about how we find things, so we can see, where the limits might be, or where there might be risks of bias within how we're trying to find the evidence. And then we write it up in such a way so that hopefully someone else can come along and reproduce what we've done. And there's lots of guidelines out there and guidance, so like Cochrane, Campbell, JBI, on how to do systematic reviews and how to do the searching within a systematic review. There's Prisma S, which sort of explains what we need to record when we write up our systematic review. And then there are quite a few sort of search archives. So these are places where people put their search strategies or search strings, if you want to call them that, for specific reviews, and you can go and browse them and see what people have done for different topic areas. So this is just a sample search, just to show you what I mean when I talk about a systematic review search. So this is quite standard, so hopefully you'll all have seen something similar to this. It's split up into the different concepts, and we're using the syntax within the database. This one happens to be Medline via Ovid, and we're using mesh terms as well as free text terms. So I'm sure this is familiar to everyone. I now have a question for you all. So if you have been, I'm sure all of you have been involved in systematic reviews, but when it's been completed, what would you find would be interesting to know about the searches when you get to the end? So when you get to the end of the review, it's kind of like, what do you want to know about the searches? And then do you do any evaluation of your searches for systematic reviews? So we have a poll, and I'm hoping I'll be able to see this. It's coming up here. I might need to get Joanna to help me with this. I'm not quite sure.
That's okay, Alison. I'm here. So,
so I have to launch this one.
Launch that first.
And I get a
So
QR code.
hopefully,
Is that right?
I think it should just come up for participants there so that they can just type in their answers there, and you should be able to see as they come in.
Thank you. Can I ask, are you seeing a QR code? Are you seeing my presentation now?
I am seeing just your I'm seeing your presentation, and then I'm seeing the question side of the poll, but I'm hoping that other folks, looks like they are, because we've got some answers coming in now.
Thank you.
I know there's always that moment of, did I do this right?
Yeah, I was doing a workshop last week, and the person I was sort of assisting, we were using Google Forms, which I hadn't used before. So,
and every platform is different, right? Like everyone has its own language and buttons and.
So, am I able to see the results of
I'm
this?
hoping that you are seeing them now. No.
Maybe, hold on.
The person
No.
the poll is normally the one who's able to see the responses. Let me see if I click this.
Oops.
Alison, what are you seeing on your end?
I'm just seeing
The
how
question.
many times it's been answered.
Oh, you know why, Alison? Because we haven't, I think the responses will come up when we click that end poll. So when you're ready,
Okay.
I'm hoping anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. It looks like those numbers are starting to slow down there, like everyone who's wants to answer maybe has answered. Okay. So we could go ahead and end it if you're ready.
Perfect. Let's end it and see. I'll share the results.
Oh, sorry, I clicked it and at the same time as you. If you hit that share results button, then I will keep my hands off. Are you able to see those there now?
I can't see them.
Oh no. Okay, I'm gonna try to figure that out. Do you want to move on to that second question, and I'll try to dig up the answers in the background on the first one?
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
sorry. Let's go back. So,
really traumatized you on polls here now. Okay, those answers I'm seeing. Are you seeing them?
Yes, I'm seeing those answers,
Okay,
yeah.
good. And I will go into the back and see if I can find those answers to the first poll saved.
So this is so fascinating. So it's like more than half of the people on here are evaluating searches as part of the systematic review. So I'd love to hear. There's a sort of I've asked people to put things in the chat at the end, so I'll be really pleased to hear what other people do. And so that's amazing. Yeah. Okay. And I shall end that one as well. I'll come back to that. So,
Kind of happy.
okay, so I can't see the word cloud for the first.
I actually found it. Hang on one
Oh, cool.
Let me see if I can share that with you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I've just downloaded it and it should be then coming up to everybody. Just taken a screenshot there and stuck that in the chat. So you should be able to click that and see the little word cloud.
No, get it to work. No.
Okay, why don't we plug ahead and I'll send it to you in an email and maybe we can come back to it towards the end.
Okay.
Be
Okay,
interesting.
that's lovely. Thanks, and thank you all for responding to it. And if we can't see it, then I'll put it in the slides at the end anyway, so we can have a look. Great. So let me go back to my slides. So when I've done this, at the end of a systematic review, it got me thinking, and there is some fabulous research out there, and it's ongoing about sort of optimal database combinations, whether you need to do supplementary searching, what databases you need to search for what topics, and so there's loads of stuff out there which is just amazing, particularly in the kind of health and medical fields. But I sort of thought in this review that I'm doing, which databases found the included papers, which ones find unique papers, and which ones find no papers. That kind of interested me. And then the supplementary search methods that we did, whether citation searching or hand searching, because some of these can take up quite a lot of time. Which ones were most lucrative for the project that I was actually involved in? So, like all good researchers, I came up with a little spreadsheet for this. So it's included references from this is at the end of the project when you've gone through the whole systematic review. All of the included articles you put down one side. And then I was interested in the study type. So is it qualitative? Is it quantitative? Is it a systematic review? So I thought that would be interesting to see where they're coming from separately. And the format, so is it a journal article or is it grey literature? Again, that's interesting to see where that's going to come from. And the databases that were searched and the types of supplementary searching that were done as part of the project. And then at the bottom, you'll see included references, unique references, the number that were the yield from each database, and a lot of this information you will have collected as part of the searching, and it will be in the prism flow diagram as well. I think someone has raised their hand.
We might go ahead and take questions towards the end just to let you plod along through
Okay.
and make sure you get through your talk. And then if you do have a question, you can just stick it into that Q&A box down at the bottom of the screen and we'll make sure to get to you.
Okay, thank you. So someone else has raised their hand. I'm just worried if something's wrong. um, so So this is what it might look like when you complete it. So I put a little X, you look at, before you've removed the duplicates, you have your included reference, which search and which database was it retrieved from. So you'll find some that were retrieved in lots of the databases, some that were retrieved just in one, like the second one down in the second row, or, the first one was retrieved from Sinal Embase, Medline and various other places. And then over on the right-hand side, the type of supplementary searching that was done and whether that retrieved any additional articles that you didn't retrieve from the database searching. And you'll be glad to know there's this lovely new shiny app called SiteSource. I have tried to use it and I haven't been able to, but I think that's more me than the app. So do have a go with this. It was developed as part of the evidence synthesis hackathon by Trevor Riley over in NOAA in the US. And you should be able to input your RIS files from all of your database searching, your RIS files from your included articles, and then it should do that little table for you. So that would be fantastic, because that would just, save so much time if you could do that. So then once you've done that, I sort of thought, well, okay, I know that now. So, but what about those references, say, that were picked up in citation searching or hand searching? Were they in the databases in my search that I developed didn't pick it up? So then started populating the table with that information as well. So the blue one that's got a Y on it, that means it was in the database and the search did retrieve it when I reran it. That's usually because the reference is quite new and it hasn't made it into the database. Sometimes it's to do with the indexing, so that the indexing hasn't happened yet. The Z, so that's sort of pale green color, that means it's in the database, but the search didn't retrieve it. So then that makes you think, well, why was that? Why didn't the search pick that up? And then the pale pink, the N, that means it's not in the database at all. So even, it doesn't matter how much you search, you wouldn't have found it anyway. So I think all these things are kind of interesting for us as searchers or for systematic reviewers. I'm going to give you some examples of when I've done this and what I find interesting at the end of it. So this first one is on extra care housing, and this hasn't been published yet, but these are the results from the search sort of evaluation or search summary table at the end. So we searched 7 databases, and we include Web of Science just as one in this instance. Citation searching, website searching, 98 included articles. Interestingly, 39 greylit and 59 journal articles. The thing to remember about this project was that it was for UK specific we were looking for, so we weren't interested in anything outside of the UK. So that changes your perspective on how you're going to search and where you're going to search. So all of the databases we searched did retrieve included articles, and of the 34 that were reports, 5 were theses. But all of the 34 reports were retrieved from these 2 databases, Social Policy and Practice, or HMIC, which is Health and Social, which is Health Management Information Consortium. That's what that one stands for. So these are really specific kind of UK databases that include references from the Department of Health, the King's Fund, AgeLine, places like that. So it's got a lot of grey literature on it. And this was the first review that I had done where there was so much grey lit and report literature in it. And I thought that was really interesting. So this is it in a nice sort of graph. This is the journal articles. So you can see Web of Science found the most journal articles, 41 of the 59, I think it was. And it also found the most unique articles. Understandably, ProQuest didn't retrieve any because it's for dissertations and theses. So that's for the journal articles. The included reports looks very different. So most of them, obviously the databases, they weren't found in any of the sort of big databases, but they were found in Social Policy and Practice and HMIC. And obviously ProQuest found the 5 dissertations that were included in this review. Yeah, so I think that's kind of interesting to see the patterns that are emerging from that particular project. And the other interesting thing I found about this, because it was mixed, so it was qual and quant, I looked at the qualitative studies, and I always search CINAHL for qualitative studies, but in this instance, Social Policy and Practice found the most. Only 9 of them were reports. So that meant in Social Policy and Practice found the journal literature as well as the qualitative journal literature, as well as the report literature. And then Web of Science found 2 unique ones, and then CINAHL found 13, but none of them were unique. So that's one example. Another example is this peer support. This was an evidence and gap map. and we were looking for RCTs, systematic reviews, and economic evaluations. So for the systematic reviews, we searched 8 databases. 32 included articles, with 30 from the database searching. And again, this is a picture or a graph of the systematic reviews that we found. So you can see, I don't know if you look at it closely, we're looking for systematic reviews. So if you think of the databases, you're going to search for systematic reviews. So you have Medline, CINAHL, Embase, but then you look at Epistamonicus, there was less than 10. And say, oh, well, that's kind of interesting, isn't it? And if we look at the combinations of the databases, we can tell which ones, if we were doing this again, if we searched these 3 databases, we would have found all of the reviews that would have been included in our systematic review or our evidence and gap map. And the maximum, then we can calculate the maximum number to screen, which is just adding up the yields for each of the databases. And interestingly, in this one, the articles that were picked up from the citation searching were also in Medline, PsycInfo, and Embase, and when we reran the search, they were picked up, they were retrieved. So yeah, again, that's an interesting thing. Do you do citation searching? Or if we did like an update search right at the end, would that also pick those up as well? And all the included references were in Epistamonicus, but 20 were not picked up from our search. And that is because so when you find that out, you go, oh no, what have I done? So then, Epistamonicus is a fairly new database. There's not a lot of information out there about how to search it. So we found it was to do with the hyphen. It was like peer support, peer hyphen support. And we did quite a complex search in the title and abstract. So having found this out, we now do simple searches using the simple search box. But this is a few years, this is maybe 3 or 4 years ago, so things may have moved on since then as well. But it helps you recognize some of the things that might go wrong and that you didn't realize at the time. Another map for remote monitoring. Again, we're looking for systematic reviews. We searched 12 databases and we did forwards and backwards citation searching. 74 includes 67 from searching. And again, this is just another graph of what that looks like. But all of them, bar sort of OT seeker, I think, found included systematic reviews for that one. And that gives you the combinations of databases, from the results. This is a combination of databases that you might want to search, and where no included references were found, and then what other search methods that you might want to do. So in this one, if we're looking again for systematic reviews, so of the 74 included papers, 11 of these, when we went back, weren't even in Epistamonicus. So again, that makes you, in a way, it's reinforcing what is in the guidance and in the literature. It's saying you can't rely on just 1 or 2 sources. You need to be searching, more than that to be able to be comprehensive. So, a lot of what these results show is probably reinforcing what is already out there. This was an interesting one. This was of my colleague Morwenna and another colleague Anthea Sutton from Sheffield. They were involved in this project. And what was interesting about this was that the unique studies mainly came from ProQuest and ERIC, so it's an educational database. This was about intergenerational activities, and it was an evidence and gap map. And the other interesting thing that I liked about this one is that they found 20 RCTs which were not in Central. So again, it's saying, okay, Central isn't the only place. If you're going to find randomized controlled trials, then you need to think of searching other places as well. The thermodynamic tables, they're kind of, it's a 2-stage approach. And I often do a 1-page narrative summary to kind of pull it all together. And I complete them for all the systematic reviews, and they're often published. If I manage to do them in time, they're often in the paper as a supplementary file. So, okay, I've got some questions for people, but maybe we'll leave this to the end as part of the Q&A at the end rather than do it in the middle, because it might sort of it might make it easier that way. So, okay, we do these search summary tables, but all it does is tell us the results are from one place. They're from one project, and these are the results. And it's okay, so what am I going to do with that information? You know, how does that help me for the future? I'm generally not going to repeat the same systematic review. But I think there are ways in which they can be really helpful. So, for example, if you're updating your searches within a systematic review, so if it's taken a bit longer, if you have to do an update search, you know, can you use that to then inform where you're going to do the searching? Any further evidence synthesis? So I'm sort of coming round to the idea that they're really useful for maps, because often in a map you have to search more databases because it's much broader, and then you can see where the results are coming from. And then if you're going to do a systematic review from the map, it will help you pinpoint where you want to search. Maybe rapid reviews, because you have to, you know, you're short of resource time, and you need to make those decisions. You've got evidence behind you as to why you've made that decision. And perhaps as a living review, I'm involved in a living network meta-analysis at the moment, and we will be monitoring this as we go along and comparing the way we've started searching and the databases we're searching. We'll compare that for a number of iterations to see if it repeats itself. But also, I think as an individual, which databases to search, where to start your search. Do you need to revise your search strategies if it comes up saying you missed some stuff, you know, why that was and how could you change it? And often it is the confirmation of what you already know. And I know that, and particularly if you have a lot of experience, you probably know that, yeah, like in one of the examples, social policy and practice is where you're going to find a lot of the grey literature for this particular question. But if you were new to the subject, then you might not know that. And I think it also helps with the databases as well to say, okay, this is unique. If we didn't have this database, it would have taken us a lot longer to find that, and we may not have been able to find it as efficiently, or we may not have found it at all if we didn't have those collections of grey literature available as databases. And it also makes work more visible, both to your colleagues within the project and a bit wider. And it can also help with your database subscriptions. I mean, just at the moment on our discussion groups, people are talking about, someone was asking a question about stopping access, their subscription to Web of Science. But if you had this sort of data behind you, you could see where is it being, are there unique references that you're finding for your systematic review in Web of Science? And collectively, I think as information specialists and librarians, it's really good to be more evidence informed or evidence based in what we do. And I think if we all do this, if we need everyone to be doing it really to get a bigger kind of cohort of data there, then we can start saying this is why we're making these decisions in the databases that we're searching or how we're searching. And also for new information specialists and librarians, but also if it's a new topic area, if you've never searched, say, in the environmental field, if you had this information, it might be really helpful to know that a Web of Science is better than Environment Complete or something like that, you know, because it can be really useful. So I'm going to give you another couple of examples of when I've used search summary tables to change perhaps the way in which I've searched. So I'm just going to give you 3 or 4 examples here. The first one is there was older people in physical activity. So this one was started way back in 2015, and it's only recently kind of been published. So we did, you know, searches in 2015, 2016, 2018, and then 2023. So it's a bit of a living review, I guess. But so you'll see where we started in 2015. Epistemonicus didn't exist then, so we didn't search it, because this is a review of reviews. And then, so in 2016, we added in PubMed, and we did search summary tables at each of these stages, so we could see where our included references were coming from. And then in 2018, Epistemonicus arrived, Dare disappeared, so we stopped searching there. Sports Discus and Ahmed, PubMed, and PubMed changed as well. Our Medline by Ovid changed, so you didn't have to search PubMed as well for the more recent stuff. So we got rid of those, and then we did another search summary table. And then in the last search, we just searched Medline and Epistemonicus. We did change the Medline search for this because we could see there were all of the included references were in Medline, but our search wasn't picking them up. So we edited the search as well as dropping some of the other databases. So that was one example of how we use the evidence to make decisions on what we could do in the last search. This is another one, which is we're at the protocol's just been published, so it's a very it's kind of underway at the moment. So this was the first systematic review was done by a colleague, Anne Leonard, as part of her PhD a number of years ago, and then they're updating it, but it's a slightly different question, that is to say. But we used the evidence from hers, and we created a search summary table. We looked at the searches, we changed the databases we were going to search, and we amended the search strategy. So what we did was we added in more terms. We didn't reduce them. So things seas, seaside, ocean, and then that other one, recreational or bathing or swimming water, we added those in. And we also added in, for the Medline search, we added in additional mesh terms because we realized that those were missing. So that was we put it all into a search summary table to then give us a sort of picture of what the search looked like, from the first one, to then inform what we did for this new systematic review. So for this one, remote monitoring for long-term physical health conditions. So this was done a number of years ago. It was an evidence and gap map, and it's been published. So we did a search summary table for it, but then we decided to update it, and we looked at the search strategy for this and tried to figure out whether we could amend the search strategy, or we evaluated the search strategy. So this is a Medline search, as you can probably recognize, and we put the search strategy in, we put the included references, and basically that was line 20. It was line 20 and 1, line 20 and 2, and then we gave them priorities depending on the number of the included articles that it retrieved, and then we started combining them. So one or two, 2 or 3, and then to see which lines were potentially redundant, and see which lines which were most useful. So so we did that, and we removed some of the mesh terms, as you can probably see from that one. So lines 2, 4, 5, and 6, they retrieved 1, but it probably wouldn't have been a unique reference. So we updated the search and we removed some of those mesh terms. But then the telemedicine one, which we had as a focus search, we decided to explode that one, so to try and capture more. And then we added in some additional free text terms, as you can see there, and then we edited another term to include it to put truncation on it. So that was what we did for that one. So again, the search summary table and the search evaluation sort of allowed us to make those informed decisions. This is another one about peer support for systematic reviews. We had 100. This was just the systematic reviews we were looking for. So from 119 lines of search, only 18 of those lines identified an included systematic review. And out of those, only 2 lines identified unique records not found by another line. So not saying that this is what you would only search like 2 lines to find it, but I think what it showed us was that when people write systematic reviews, the title tends to be very clear about what it is they're doing, what it is they've done, what the topic is, what it's about. So that was the take home really from this, but also, looking at those 18 those 100 lines that didn't there were no included results from. It's good to go and look at those as well and think about why. And then this is part of the same map, but this is for randomized controlled trials in this one. So this had 55 lines of peer support terms, but that was different. So it was 26 lines identified, they included RCTs, and 11 identified unique ones not found by another line. And what this shows is that you can't search the same for the same type of study. So for systematic reviews, you want to search in a different way for randomized controlled trials, not just if you're putting a study filter on, but the topic terms. These are the topic terms, not the study terms. So that was it. I probably whizzed through that. So